I'm Rudy Hartmann. I get to be out in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a little bit of a story that I might get into, but I'm with the Salt Company, which is a college ministry out of a local church. Our network of churches plants churches just across the Midwest. Actually, now we're going up into Oregon, into New York, and down to Florida, so the Midwest is becoming Midwest Plus. It's really sweet. I have gotten to help plant 3 churches as the college ministry director over the last 7 years, one in Des Moines, Iowa, one in State College, Pennsylvania, and one now in Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm coming in and we're actually getting to send out, which is very, very fun to do. All the stuff about sending is just really great to get to, hello?
Hi.
Sorry,
just checking the temperature.
Temperature is good?
Maybe a little warm, okay.
Love it.
I'm Kim. I'm the music assistant here. My office is here if you need anything.
Love it. Thanks so much, Kim. Grateful.
Thank you.
That's great. I hope that stays that would be so great. That stays on the podcast. I love that. All right. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin right now. Madison is kind of a strange spot, not typical Midwest corn-fed Bible bread kind of thing. That's just not what you get there. It's capital city. Our context is incredibly high anxiety around performance, around academics, top 10 public university. It is in the nation. It is quite progressive, which is really fun to get to move into because people want to talk about things. And I'm let's get into it. Let's go all the way. It's an awesome opportunity to be able to talk about Jesus with a lot of people who don't know him. I'm from Florida originally, so I can empathize with many of you who are in contexts where you have to convince someone that they're not a Christian before you actually share the gospel with them to show them who Jesus is. I'm getting a couple head nods, so you get that, right? And that is really not the context or case that I'm in particularly, because you get no social benefit whatsoever from following Jesus in Madison, Wisconsin. Really, you just don't. And so it's really sweet to be able to get into this. I just want to start off though with just a quick question. Why are you here? There's a couple reasons that you could be here, and I know a little bit about some of your ministries, just getting to talk with some of you and meet some of you through it. So why are you here? Talk back to me. We'll keep this pretty back and forth for a good chunk of it, but what are you hoping to get out of this? Other than obviously kickstart your college ministry, plan your first 30 days. We're going to get into a plan and a paradigm, but what are you hoping to get? Where do you feel this is what I need?
I can go first. Our evangelism group has kind of gone on a downhill trend at our local college ministry. Great. And so I've been taking on the position as the female lead.
Okay.
And I have been trying to increase attendance and also participation by moving away from the traditional cold approach and also increasing attendance and just participation.
Oh, great. We're going to get into some of that. That's awesome. Cool. That's really good. That's really, really good. Anyone else? What are you doing here?
So you're asking specifically?
Just specifically you, not...
in this breakout?
In this breakout. Yeah.
I'd say for us, so we had something that we called Mission to Campus.
Yeah.
That was done pretty successfully before COVID. And then COVID hit, and there was a new college pastor, me, who came in during COVID. And we've had just hard times picking that back up.
Cool.
Both because our ministry culture has changed, as well as just the things that Baylor allows people to do.
That's real.
People to do.
Man.
And so this is going to just be really helpful. Just kind of take some blinders off.
Yeah.
Get some good ideas.
Let's do it. So. Cool. That's great. Maybe one more. We're doing.
I think our group comes to this just as a main thing, reflect on the semester we just had and to get ready for the next semester.
That's good.
We all stay in the same Airbnb and just really plan out. And I want to get more of a written down formula for that before we leave for summer and get ready for fall.
Cool. That's really, really cool. All right, we're going to actually touch all of those. I actually love that you just posed both of those things. Those are both going to come up even in this, not just doing it here this week. I keep wanting to say weekend, anyone else? This week, but like actually continuing to do that even into the summer, taking some time to get in that paradigm. So just two things as I was praying for you guys in this room today is one is just thank you so much for what you're doing on these campuses. That just came to mind. Like if you're coming into this space, there's like reasons for it that you're coming in and saying like, we want to like help like Kickstart plan, like get into these first 30 days. And so I just want to honor the fact that you're here and say just thank you. It's really sweet work that you guys are all doing. And I'm hoping that this is just like a helpful blessing to look forward and to move forward with where you're going. The other thing, just to couch everything I'm going to say, because this verse has been on my mind since I woke up the morning after our last college gathering last Thursday, where a student ran up to me and like talked about how she just started following Jesus literally that week. Like finally, like we prayed with this girl for a while, puts her trust in Jesus, like talks about like some addictions that she hasn't wanted to do, hasn't been like wrestling with, but hasn't wanted for the last 3 days. Couldn't remember the last time that happened. Ended this incredible college ministry gathering, this incredible night. And I woke up Friday morning with Zechariah 4:6 on my mind, just like repeating, not by might, not by might, not by might, not by might, not by might or power, but by my spirit, says the Lord. So I want to like give you a lot of best practices here and then couch it all in saying, okay, but not by might or not by paradigm or not by plan, but by my spirit, says the Lord. Okay. So I want to give you like the best stuff that I got couched in that reality. Okay. So I'm thinking about this a lot for two reasons, even this idea of the first 30 days. One, because like 3 days after Mitch told me that he'd like me to teach on this, my wife told me that she's pregnant. And so, which is cool. Her due date's September 19th, which is in the middle of the first 30 days. So I'm thinking about this a lot. Did not plan that, but it's been just heavy on our mind. And the second thing is you and I both just know how critical the first 30 days are. We've all got stories of people who we met in that first 30 days, or if you're starting, you will have stories of people that you meet in that first 30 days. It's like nervous and exciting all at once. What's going to happen? Who am I going to meet? Right? Like this guy, Michael Matole, that we met on day 2 of Mission Trip to Campus that we had, like became like a guy that I got to mentor and then walk with, who became an incredible leader in our ministry and is going to graduate from Penn State, where I'm not now at, but where he's continued in ministry over the last 4 years, and is like already like the way he's talking about where he's going to go after he graduates is like totally dictated on where he can be most missionally effective. It's like moments and stories like that you see that start in these first 30 days. So I'm just really, really, really excited about that. I'm going to give you a paradigm to help you plan. Like just to like pin down like where we're going. And the emphasis on that is to give you a paradigm to help you plan. When I first went to the first salt company that I ever directed, the first college ministry in our network, I took the plan that I had from our really massive campus and university ministry and just tried to like copy paste it where I was. I tried to run their plan and it was fine. But the entire time across the way, I kept seeing areas where I was like, oh, I would have done that differently. And I should have done that. What I had was like someone else's plan. I didn't have a paradigm for how to think through like what I actually should be doing that first 30 days. So that's what I'm going to do. But I am going to try to give you where our plan comes from, how we form it, to give you like an example and then pull into the paradigm. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. I'm going to just give like one word that frames the philosophy, an example of what we do, and then the paradigm for planning. And then we're going to go into like some collaborative work in this room. I really don't want to talk for too long. Don't plan on spending the next 45 minutes talking. That's my promise to you. That would be terrible. So the first thing that I want to give you is this one word, movement. You can write this at the top of your thing. I don't mean this in a like buzzword kind of way. Although I do like appreciate, I don't mean it in a buzzword type of way, like I was like running through a filter of words that I said, oh, movement, we'll just slap that on there. I do love even the language from your guys' church of like the move of God. I actually think that's really important and is the aspiration of all of us in this room. I don't mean it as a noun as much as I mean it as a verb. like movement as the action is actually what I think that all of a first 30-day plan should be structured and shaped around. Movement is a stewardship of like building something and maintaining that movement. If you move too fast through the first 30 days, you kind of just hit like scorched earth and everyone's burnt out because you've done a billion events and everyone's like, so where do I actually like have time to live or to do school or to be on mission or to da-da-da. Like if you move too slow for the first 30 days, it's boring. Like you're just like, okay, we have one thing this week and we'll see you again in 3 weeks. Like that doesn't make any sense. When people think of the first 30 days, often you're thinking about how to get like to something. I want to get people to something. I want to get them to my kickoff, to my event, to the mission trip to campus thing. And I love that language, but I actually think there's a paradigm shift that needs to take place, like a philosophical framework shift from like getting to moving through. To looking at a mission trip to campus and saying, this is a part of me moving you through the first 30-day plan that I have for you that's bigger and not only, like that moment when I meet you is really important, but I want the next moment and the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. That when I'm looking at the people that I'm trying to share the gospel with as a team lead, I'm walking people through that evangelistic process. I'm taking that moment and the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. I'm structuring moving men and women through my first 30 days, less like looking at getting them to an event and more like trying to move them through a story of what it would look like for them to follow Jesus on this campus as a part of this campus ministry. I'm forming a mental map for that person as to what it would actually look like for them to be a part of doing something that many of them have never done before. I'm trying to help the person that's not a Christian understand that they're welcome in this ministry and that we're going to present Jesus to them and we're going to get them in a community that's going to talk about Jesus with them, and to help Christians who come in have both like a home in our ministry and a mission while on the campus. I want them to be a part of an outward facing community and see that not just when we like have them and with our hooks in them, but from like the very beginning for it to be very clear we are an outward facing ministry from the jump. We're not just trying to get you to stuff, but we're actually trying to move you through this reality of the first 30 days of helping you to love and follow Jesus. I think about this for the person that's never been to a campus ministry before and is like wondering what it would be like. I think about the person that comes to your campus ministry and is like, I've always been looking for a campus ministry. It's not whether I'm going to go or not, it's which one I'm going to be a part of. Your first 30 days is telling the story of what that would look like for them. Moving them through actually helps emphasize why it's important to not just be a part of like a bunch of different campus ministries and a bunch of different things, but to say, I want to help you lock down into one movement, one place, and go deep here while we can go broad as we look out at our campus. It also gives a future, like a picture of the future for the people that Dean was talking about last night. Like the people that, like it actually gives a picture over the first 30 days of what does it look like for me to follow Jesus with this group of people that are walking in good conduct and with the Lord and are also being like among the Gentiles where they are. I want to model those things from the first 30 days so that when I present them to them, when I invite people into them more formally, it's not a surprise that we're about that. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So I want to give you just a snapshot of what our first 30 days looks like and then show you how we got there. So this is our first 30 days. If we go all the way from summer equipping, really starting it from leader camp to our 4th midweek gathering, I'm just going to couch this and say this might not be what yours looks like. It is what ours looks like. And I'm going to explain to you like why that is here in a moment. So first, summer equipping. Over the summer, our first 30 days preparing for them starts like right now. We're, as a staff planning and as a ministry, we're equipping our leaders over the summer so that when they come back to the campus, they're prepared to actually go out and move towards the people that are around them. So our equipping this summer is primarily fixated around a 3-2-1, 3 people that you're praying for, 2 people that you're inviting, and 1 person you're sharing the gospel with. That's a expectation that we're giving to our leaders for them to have a 3-2-1 every week. We want you to be praying for 3 people, inviting 2 people, and sharing the gospel with 1 person every week. So those can be the same 3 people. By the way, that's really just saying, do you have 3 people around you? It's actually creating a structure and a format for us to say, this is what it looks like for you to be among the people on your campus and around them. 3 you're praying for, 2 you're inviting, 1 you're equipping. And so that takes place over the summer until we get to leader camp outreach and midweek kickoff. So leader camp, we'll get all our leaders back together. We'll rally them, we'll equip them, we'll get them in community together, and then we'll go to outreach, which for us is our mission trip to campus. We use the same language. That ends with a midweek kickoff that we do in the middle of our campus outside on the first Thursday of the semester, which this year will be September 7th. That's what that looks like for us. 4 pieces of that, 4 movements that we're seeing as critically important over just this first, really this is 10 days. This is a week or so that this takes place. We're trying to move staff towards our leaders to equip them and give them the support and air cover and content and whatever they need to be able to actually be on mission on their campus. We're looking for staff to move towards new students. As a staff team, we'll consistently move towards the person that we don't know. We say every Thursday is someone's first Thursday. You hear that a lot among our staff team. So we're always looking for that person that we don't know. We're trying to move leaders towards new students, student leaders who are moving towards people that they don't know, and then new students trying to move them ultimately into connection groups. Connection groups is the lifeblood of our ministry. We would say student leadership is one of the most important thing probably that we do. Behind that is connection groups, and then after that is our midweek gathering. That's how we structure this out. And now from here, this probably won't be very surprising. It's college gathering, small group, college gathering, small group, leader meeting. That's our structure for this, but what we do at them is really, really important. So in every single one of our first connection groups, we want them to have a bread and Bible culture, which bread, we want you to move towards each other. Bible, we want you to move towards the text. We're always going to have those 2 things in every single one of our small groups, but we do that from the first one. Every single one of our first weeks, we are moving around food. We're gathering at a table, getting together around food, and we're getting around the text. We're not just doing a fun thing. We're also not just doing what's your deepest, darkest sin struggle in the circle of strangers, right? We're finding the blending between the 2 of moving towards one another, moving towards the text. Our second midweek that we're actually a part of, it's 10:02. Well, we'll pause and pray. I don't know if you know, we pray at 10:02, that Luke 10:2. So if you just pray with me for just a moment. So God, would you raise up laborers for the harvest? For the harvest is plentiful and the laborers are few. Would you do it through the ministries represented in this room? Please, God, would you raise up more laborers to go over the first 30 days on their campus to share the gospel with people who do not know it, that many would come to know you. And many would see you as Lord. God, would you please do it? It's in your name. Amen. Our second midweek, we do it on campus. So we have a church building about 4 miles off campus. We count that as a blessing. We make sure to do the first 3 midweek gatherings that we do on campus because we are constantly trying to move towards the campus, and we want to make it easy for our students to be able to come to our midweek gatherings and to connection groups. So we put everything there. We figure out how to get everything there. I raise money to be able to get everything there for the first few weeks because I want to remove every barrier that exists between moving people from one thing to the next. A great thing you could do while you're working on your 30-day plan is ask what barriers exist between moving someone from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. So we do what we call a comeback event, which is just something after Salt Company, not before. We do it after Salt Company. That is cookies after salt, pizza. Maybe it's food oriented. Maybe our student leaders have planned something in and of themselves. Whatever that is, we're trying to have a reason to really help you get there. I'll say this. We don't do pizza or anything giveaway at our first kickoff. We want people to come because they were invited, and for the strength of the relationship that we're building to actually continue that. I want our second week to be bigger than our first week because then we're kind of throwing hey, here's the invitation, here's the thing. So we'll have pizza, or sometimes we do a thing called the nugget night where Chick-fil-A just brings 1,200 chicken nuggets for us, and it's incredible. They'll do that for free, by the way, if you contact their marketing director. It's really cool what they have to give away every month. So contact them if you don't have one. So a comeback event here. We'll set that up because we want to make it really easy to move students to our next gathering. I don't just want you at our kickoff. I want you at our second, third, and fourth midweek gatherings as well. Because I think that if I can help you get to second, third, fourth, I can for sure, I feel like I'm really confident I can get you in a connection group. If I can get you in a connection group for a few weeks, then I've actually got you in our system to help you have a home, see Jesus, be discipled, be on mission. Like those are the avenues that we're looking at that through. After our second midweek, we have our first leader meeting. So the gap between these two is like 2 weeks. We do that on purpose because we really want to have another touch point with our leaders to get to celebrate what God's done. So we're sharing stories. We're like enjoying, like remembering, thanking God for all he's done, and participation. So we're moving this first leader meeting. A chunk of this first leader meeting is actually going down to helping them plan for their third connection group. They've only had one at this point, but to plan for their third connection group, where they will actually, as a campus, as a connection group, invite people in. They'll create something as a connection group, as a community that they want to do. We fund that when we can. So we do a thing called table week sometimes, where we say, I can give every connection group that I have $25 to help you figure out buying ingredients for a meal that you cook so that you can invite people to be around your table. It means sometimes groups will go and take that money and be like, we're going to go bowling together and we're going to invite some people to come. I'm trying to be hyper invitational and invite people who are new to the ministry into being invitational and outward facing from the third week. So again, it's just a part of who we are. At Salt Company, we invite. We're going to be bringing you in. Like marketing on our campus really doesn't mean a whole lot. It's going to be relationships that build trust that actually allow for that invitation. The second connection group, I skipped down. The second connection group will just be like a normative connection group, bread and Bible, but we'll have our first freshman Friday after that. So any freshmen that are in those groups get invited to a freshman only gathering that is entirely student led, kind of staff organized, but student led, so that our freshmen can start to kind of see who each other are. The goal of our freshman ministry is to connect freshmen with freshmen and freshmen with mentors. And so we want to get them around leaders. It's a high invitational spot. If you guys are looking for a second breakout to go to after this, you should go to Zach Cunningham's on Reaching Freshmen. That would be a really, really good one to hop into after this because he'll help flesh some more of that out. Third midweek, we do it on campus again, and we start to talk about our fall retreat. That's a huge gathering space for us. We're trying to move towards that. Third connection group is actually where you do the out, or you'll do the table week so that you're being outward facing as a ministry from the front, from the jump. And then our fourth midweek is actually we move back to our church, and we'll do another comeback event at that because we want to make that a really easy invite for people to make the jump from being on campus to being at Doxa. We also think it's just more likely if we go to our church that's a ways away, if you've met people for like 21, 25 days, you're more likely to hop into a car with them. Like as a student, candidly, I mean, like we went from like, hey guys, we met you that one time. Would you like to get in my car and go 6 miles off campus? And they're like, I would not like to do that. I don't know you, right? But by this point, you actually know them. This was huge for us. We tried this last year for the first time. We had a really like high retention from the third week on campus to the fourth week back at Doxa. All right, so that's kind of what this looks like. I'm trying to move you through. You're hearing the Bible. You're getting in community. You're looking out at the campus. Some of the ways that we're doing it are structured very specifically, and the reason for that is because we're doing it around a number of objectives that we have. So our objectives, as we've identified them, and your objectives will be focused on two things: your context and your convictions. Where you're at and what your ministry is about are going to shape the objectives that form your first 30 days. I think there's probably an Amber Alert.
Text that.
Yeah, guys. So, objectives. First, we want to have a connection percentage between 60 and 70%. A connection percentage for us is the percentage between what percentage of our midweek gathering is in connection groups. We track that every week. We want to know how many people are coming on a Thursday that are in our connection groups. If it's below 60%, we're saying, hey, we would like to, we need to push getting people in connection groups again. If it's above 70%, we actually need to be more outward facing, because that means we've got a lot of people that are connected and we want to have more people actually coming to be able to get connected. Does that make sense? We don't just want to have everybody, we don't want to actually have that number at 100%, because it means we're not in one of the biggest front doors that we have inviting people. And the second thing is 200 gospel conversations in the first 4 weeks. So all of our staff are required to have a minimum of 6 meetups. 6 to 8 is kind of the range that most of us live in. Some of us for the first few weeks go above that. So that for our entire staff. And then if our student leadership team all have at least one gospel conversation every week for 4 weeks, we come around 217 gospel conversations that will take place. We'd like to have at least 200 gospel conversations in the first 4 weeks. We think that gives our leaders something to celebrate. It also gives them a target to move towards. It helps us shift the scoreboard from saying we want 200 people in a room to saying we actually want 200 conversations to take place on your campus. That's a higher value for us. Third is we want to give an honest presentation of who we are and what we believe. It's one of the reasons we don't do a big extra thing at our kickoff, and our kickoff isn't any different than any of our services are. Our connection groups aren't any different really week to week except for the outward facing piece, and we want you to know that if you're going to be a part of a connection group, we're going to have you look outward at some point. Does that make sense? It's just an objective that we have. Student ownership and leader development as a filter for decision making. Our students own a lot of what happens in their group. We give them paradigms, we give them things to think through, but they actually own a lot of that. They build our mission trip to campus. I'm just of the opinion that you can't say you're student-led if students aren't leading. And so we have them build out our mission trip to campus. We will give them, again, a sandbox to play in, but we're actually asking them to give their voice to what that mission trip to campus looks like. Because if they're stoked about it, then they go and actually do it. That's why these outs are our events that take place. I could plan one event. Our team could plan one event, or we could have 12 connection groups, have 12 events all in the same week. That's going to be more effective every time because they're excited about what they're building, and it's different for a different niche of student. It actually allows them to own that. And finally, that new students would know staff and be connected with other students. I do want new students to be connected with staff, but if new students are only connected with staff, that's actually a problem in my mind. New students need to be connected with our leaders, but they need to know the staff. We're not going to be so distant that they don't know who we are, but we're not going to be the only ones that are actually connected with them. All right, does that kind of make sense? I know that's a lot, but this is just an example of where we get to after we work through our paradigm. Now, this is us. This doesn't have to be you. Please hear me say that. This doesn't have to be you. So to that end, I just want to give you a paradigm to walk through 5 questions to kind of ask and answer. Each of them has a value and each of them has a need along with it, but 5 of them to give you a paradigm for planning. Okay, number 1. Right now, you need to ask the question, what did the first 30 days look like last year? The value here is perspective, that you are actually able to look back and have some kind of perspective and not do the thing where you say, okay, well, we'll just run the same play. I use that language sometimes, and to be honest with you, I don't love it because these aren't plays that we're running, they're people that we're reaching. And so I'm actually trying to look at this and say, okay, what did the first 30 days look like last year? And to do that, I need data and I need discernment. I sat down with some seniors over the last few weeks to actually just ask them, hey, how did you hear about Salt Company? And to actually get that information from them. We have our student leaders fill out a mid-semester survey to literally get this kind of data from them. So we have a ton of data that comes back. We ask them a ton of questions and they answer it sometime over winter break so that we don't have just the perspective from staff, but we have the perspective from students. I'm running it from a place that is different than they are at. And if I don't understand what they're seeing, what our students are seeing, what our leaders are seeing as we're doing the evangelistic outreach, as we're doing the mission trip to campus, we're trying to build these different things within our ministry, then I'm missing things. They have secrets that I don't know and I want to know them so that I can make this better. which then also means you get a lot of data from a lot of students who have a lot of opinions, and you have to discern what that looks like, right? If someone comes through and says, I don't think we should do a mission trip to campus, you're going to be like, thank you for your candor, right? Like, that's like, thank you, that's nice. We disagree, here's why. Like, you're actually able to have like shepherding conversations through that as well, but you discern what you should be doing. So what did it look like last year? You get all of that together. Get some perspective before you ask, what will it look like this year? You have all this data, you get to discern, okay, here's the big pieces of what it looked like last year. And then you're able to ask, what will it look like this year? What you need for that is time and prayer. The best time to plan the first 30 days on campus is May, because then you have June and July, and for many of you, parts of August, for us, almost all of August, to actually like work out that plan, to plan it, to look at it, to have time to think about it, and then to be able to adjust it, to shift it, and to actually do something with that plan instead of getting to August and saying, all right, let's plan now. If we're getting to August and saying, let's plan now, we're almost assuredly just going to run the same plan we ran last year and not actually sit and wait and frankly, in prayer, right? Like, if Jesus said, apart from him, we can't do anything, like, our ministries and our plans for them will like reveal whether we think he's telling the truth or not. And so we actually like lean into prayer as a team, and we say, what does it look like for us to actually look at next year? What could it look like next year? So vision, time, prayer. The third question is this: who will do what, when, and how? That's a really important, every piece of that question is important for me, because if you're like, okay, what did it look like? What will it look like? You've got kind of these big rocks that you want it to look like. Okay, who's going to do what, when, and how? The value here is on your team. Not that you are doing everything, hopefully, but that you have student leaders and adult leaders. Again, that's another one. If you're trying to think about how to leverage your adult leaders, go to Sam Dorsett's Breakout, which is going to be great. But what you need here is administration. I was talking with a guy earlier, and they do like a coffee on campus in the first 30 days. Actually, they do it like the entire semester. But I was talking with him, and so there's two ways to do coffee on campus. If you're doing it on Wednesday, you can spend time on Monday texting your entire team and being like, okay, who's going to be here? Who's going to actually get together? Who's going to be able to do this? You have people drop out, you're waiting for responses the entire day. You spend time administering that in the first 30 days. And what ends up happening is a block of time that you could have spent meeting students, you actually spend instead trying to do the administration for a coffee cart on campus. And everything that you did for that actually could have been done way in advance if you'd answered the question, who will do what, when, and how? You pin down the who, what they need to do, when they need to have it done by, and how they're going to do it. That's one way to do it. Or what you could do is have all of that planned in advance so that on the Monday of that week, you send one text to one group of people and say, remember everything we talked about? I'll see you Wednesday at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever time it is. That's a totally different thing. Those are things that you can do way in advance that actually help you have a high value on what you're doing. Doing the work of clarifying and communicating who will do what, when, and how is so critical. This is where I live. Administration is a spiritual gift. And if you don't have it, get someone around you that does, so that can have their eyes on it. Like, talk to Mitchell. He'll find someone in your region to be able to talk with about this. Meet someone else in this room or at this event. So I'll meet with you. Like, I'll talk with you. Like, I don't care, because I want you so badly to be able to do exactly what you particularly can do. And that happens when in advance you're able to answer and build out the question, who will do what, when, and how. So the fourth thing is this: how much can get done over the summer? This will save your life. What takes you away from being on the ground with students in the fall? Like, when you're looking back, what takes you away from being able to spend the most amount of time doing what you're doing? A way that you plan for the fall, just here's what you can get done over the summer, by the way. You can get well rested and healthy after a long year so that you are actually bringing like the best version of you as a follower of Jesus, the healthiest version of you as a follower of Jesus into that first 30 so that you can run pretty hard. But I wonder how you could, instead of like trying to just rest over the summer, like actually work from a rested place, because you got a bunch of stuff done over the fall that isn't taking your time while you're in those first 30 days. I learned this when I was writing the message for kickoff the week of mission trip to campus. That is an absolute miss. I'm planning to have all 4 of my first messages written by August 17th. That's when our messages are going to be done for the first month, so that I'm spending no time in those first 30 days, or like marginal time in the first 30 days, planning a message. Instead, I want them to be to 80%. I want our questions to be to 80%, so that when they go out to connection groups, the people on our team don't have to take the time to write them out of the message or anything. Like, I'm actually trying to say, how can I strip everything that I would typically do in a week off of that first 30 days so I can spend the most amount of time with students on campus? That's the answer that I'm trying to have. It takes preparation, it takes foresight, it takes this question: what can I get done over the summer? What you answer this question with will actually help you like rightly value how you're spending your time in that first 30 days. The first 30 days like should not be 40 hours of sermon prep. It just shouldn't be. That is an entire week. That is 40 hours that you could be with students. That's 40 hours that you could be on campus. Or I don't know if you take 10 hours to prep, but whatever that looks like, it actually should set you up so that you can get all that done, or as much of that done as you can over the summer. Curriculum, administration, organization, whatever it is, do it over the summer so that you can be on the ground, so you can be flexible for different opportunities that come across your path in the first 30 days. And finally this, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? The goal here is focus, and the need is honesty. You need to be brutally honest. Not what do I want to be doing. I know that there's a lot of times in the middle of the first 30 days where I would like to be alone at a table with my Bible and a commentary writing a message, because that's where I feel like really in my bag. That's where I feel like really like rested. Like I just feel like I don't have to, I'm not another conversation, But the question is not what do I want to be doing, it's what should I be doing? What are the things that I honestly am able to do? What you do in that first 30 days, what you make time for in that first 30 days will reveal what you value. If it's sermon and curriculum prep, you value information. If it's administration, you value organization. But if it's gospel sharing, you'll value salvation. And if it's disciple making, you'll value transformation. Like when you land on what you should do, it will focus everything else out. So that was a lot. Real quick, any questions before I send you guys into a little bit of time to be able to collaborate? Anything particularly off of this or anything that we're doing? Again, I'm trying to do a download and give you a paradigm of questions to be able to ask through, work through as you build out your plan. Any questions? It doesn't have to be off this too. It could be specific to what you're doing.
On your campus, how many campus-based ministries, so like Crew, BSM, whatever, university, along with churches that are also trying to reach the campus? Like for your campus, how many are those?
Yeah, that depends on who you ask. How many are actually like trying to do that, or how many would say that they're? How many active participants? I would say 9 to 12. Yeah. And so 48,000 students, it's a lot of work. Yeah. So I would say that there are 93% of our campus. I don't even know if they like would say that they know somebody that like is actively following Jesus and gives me. So that'd be where I land.
And that includes churches as well.
Yeah, there's only a few, like church-based college ministries. There's 4, to my knowledge, in our city. Yeah.
So at Texas A&M, we have something called Howdy Week, and that the midweek, the thing that you have doing, typically Howdy Week takes the place over 2 weeks, and we have established a booth in like one of the main student areas.
Yeah.
And so would you recommend, because that's when like all of the freshmen
Yeah.
get, like would it be a good idea to do giveaways at that point to get like foot traffic in that area?
Yeah, totally. At that, I'm trying to get is contacts. I'm really trying to get like as many people's information as I can.
Okay.
And by that, oh, this is great. Okay. Okay. I don't like flyers because I think we give out flyers so that we feel like we're doing something effective instead of actually doing like the effective piece of ministry, which is making a vital connection with the person that you're in. Like, ministry is relationships, and a flyer is a thing that makes me feel really good about saying I passed out 7,000 flyers on campus. How many information points did I actually have with those individuals? When we do our stuff, I will literally say hello and put my hand, like I will now we're post-COVID, so I can do that, right? Or so I'll be like, we'll do like a free coffee booth for us like the first several days of the semester, because I'm trying to build like vital connections. But the people that win, my booth, okay, I think about booths and I think about all that as like air war. Like that like sign that says Salt Company is a reminder to the person who sat next to one of our students or one of our leaders and they invited them to come to kickoff. And now my booth in the middle of campus is a reminder that Caitlin invited me to kickoff, or that Timmy invited me out to come to kickoff, or that like that is just a reminder in the middle. That is not our main thing. Like, our main thing is going to be relationships all day long, because there's like a low trust on our campus, typically like towards church and really towards institutionalism in general. That's a whole other conversation, but like towards church specifically. And so when we actually look at that and a flyer, that is not our win. That is our ancillary, helpful reminder piece. The win is always going to be the relationships that made. And if I can figure out a way to do that at the table, then I'm winning. Bonus. Any other questions, thoughts?
You mentioned maximizing the amount of time that you're with students on campus. So how does a college minister find ways to get on campus without having some sort of big event or some reason for being on campus other than merely to build connections with students?
Yeah, depends on like who you are, I think. So I am bad at basketball except for 10 days of the year, right? It's the first, like I'll get out there and I'll hoop with people. We'll have student leaders like set up different things the first week before classes, like volleyball courts on campus. I'll literally go during move-in week, and we have coolers that we bring out that have water bottles that I promise you, I print our kickoff information on a water bottle, our little logo, and I wrap it, tape it, and then we have like cartons of those that we hand out because it's practical, but it also like starts a conversation that I'm trying to get a contact off of. The first few weeks, we from our midweek gathering, our kickoff gathering, this is us. Again, not everyone has to do this, but from our kickoff gathering, we want to get everybody into connection groups. They take their connect card, hand it to a connection group leader. That leader inputs the data. We get the data, and that's the first group of people I'm working through all of the guys. And now I finally have a guy on my staff team for the first time in like 6 years. And so I am like not the only one that's going to be doing that now. But we partner with our student leaders and actually like going through that. So I'm just trying to be out there as often as I can. I'm averaging 10 meetings a week on campus for the first 3 to 4 weeks at least. And then I'll settle into like 6 to 8 because that's very doable. I have other responsibilities too, but that's like where I'm living. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's really good to hear you talk about flyers that way, just out loud, because I've felt it, but I haven't said it out loud. But so in terms of the connection points, in terms of the
flyers are not bad. Like if you use them well, you put a QR code, something on there, but like they're helpful. They are not the gospel. Like okay.
So when, whether it's flyers or whether it's the actual connection points that you're creating with people, getting their contact information, what counts as a success, right? So I guess you could call that return rate, you could call that whatever. So, I want to meet 200 people. Out of that 200 people, is it?
Right. So I'm not saying, are you saying meet 200 people, or are you pulling off the objective?
No,
Okay, cool. Got it. Yeah.
So like when you're doing your evaluation or your objectives, we want to get so many different people, which means it might mean that we got to do like 1,000 flyers.
Yeah. I don't have a great like conversion rate yet. I find that switches from campus to campus. I'd even switch from like pre-COVID to post-COVID. So I don't have anything like hard on that. That's why I try to put like a rhythm in for our students of like, I'm trying to say, I would like our students to get 5 good contacts over that week. And then that becomes, okay, so we've got 30 student leaders, 5 good contacts. That's 150 good contacts. In addition to, that's one vertical. Another vertical is gonna be, there's people that are looking for campus ministries that come in, so I'm trying to meet them. I do some stuff over summer to try to meet them. If you have a directory of all of the incoming freshmen, which, because we're a public university, we do, I email all of our incoming freshmen. They get a form if they're interested in college ministry at all. They fill that form out. We connect them with a student over the summer, a student leader over the summer. We have people that are just interested in it, that'll just hear about it in different ways. And then our staff's also out there just on campus, like administering events, etc. too. So I'm trying to like build out to like a pinnacle of that is our kickoff, but that's so that the people at our kickoff get into connection groups, we get their contact information, and then we follow up from there. So the win in my head would be, that's still that 60 to 70% number, even frankly of our kickoff. We're not gonna have 100% of people turn in a contact card. If 100% of people turn in a contact card, not all of them are gonna follow back up. So it's looking like 60 to 70% of the people that come to our kickoff are typically the people we're able to start connecting with immediately, walk them through like really help them move through the first 30 days, and then get to that point where they have an out with their connection group that they're now actually encouraged to start inviting from week 3. Does that make sense? Like I'm trying to help people get into that rhythm where it's like always be inviting. Like that's their constant like thought. So good. Yeah. Getting a phone number will always win in my opinion of like getting a flyer. So